The Metropolitan Opera isn't just a New York City venue. It's simulcast live to movie theaters in all 50 states. But the stage may go dark this season if contracts between the Met and its employees aren't settled today. Jamie Wax is at the home of the opera, Lincoln Center, with the unfolding labor drama. Jamie, good morning.
Good morning. Disputes between the Met management and its union employees have hit a sour note, leaving just a day to hammer out a deal to ensure the upcoming season at one of the world's greatest opera houses isn't scrapped.
Considered America's most prominent stage for the performing arts, the Metropolitan Opera is experiencing a tragedy all its own, one unlike any of its famed productions. All of the Met's performers, musicians, and crew will be locked out if contract negotiations with their unions are not settled by midnight. That means work stops, and so does a paycheck for nearly 2,500 people.
The difficult part for me is that it's not that I want to cut their wages, I have to for the Met to survive.
In his 8 years as general manager of the Met, Peter Gelb has been celebrated for making the 135-year-old institution more accessible. From increasing the number of new productions to providing live simulcasts to more than 2,000 theaters throughout the U.S. and in 67 countries, a global expansion of the arts that comes with a higher cost.
All cylinders are firing, and you have an orchestra, a chorus, stage crew, elaborate scenery. It's the most complicated of art forms, and therefore it's also the most expensive.
Since 2006, the operating budget of the Met has grown from $200 million to $325 million, two-thirds of it going to labor, which is at the heart of this negotiation and is contentiously being played out in the press.
Grand opera is grand opera. It is all of those bells and whistles. And to acknowledge that you want to have that big, lavish production, it takes time, money, and labor in order to make that happen.
Joe Hartnett represents the men and women working behind the scenes.
We're not saying you can't do the big, grand, lavish productions, but how about maybe instead of doing 6, why don't you do 5? Let's budget that out.
The idea that they should rehearse less, or that there should be fewer new productions, or that we should somehow reduce expenses by diminishing the artistic product, to me is a recipe for artistic and ultimate economic disaster.
Gelb insists this isn't about workers' pay, but perks, like the 16 weeks of paid vacation for the orchestra.
The vacation argument that I've heard is not taking into consideration some of that as compensatory time off.
Jessica Phillips-Risky plays clarinet for the Metropolitan Opera.
How often are you here?
Every day right now.
Her focus now is negotiating for fellow musicians.
These are really almost athletes, and they use their bodies day in and day out, and there's injuries and repetitive stress things, so it's like athletes where you have an off season and we need that time to recuperate.
After 5 months of a drama that could vex even Verdi, the harmony may be hard to recapture between Gelb and his team.
In a worst-case scenario, there is a work stoppage. Do you have confidence both that the Met can come back with its audience support from that, and that you can come out of that with a good enough relationship to lead properly these people that you're struggling with right now?
Well, I guess that remains to be seen. I believe I had a very good and strong working relationship with the people who worked here until I asked them for a pay cut. So I hope that when the dust settles, we will all be able to resume working together. But, in the end of the day, they don't have to love me to do their job.
The last lockout here was 34 years ago, and that one lasted 11 weeks. Gail?
Boy, let's hope they work it out. Thank you, Jamie.